It was Bedbug General, Bedbug Inspector. Another John Arbuckle appears. It says gullible on the ceiling. Cat memes. Screenshot of another Discord chat where Robinson went by the username Bedbudge Inspector. Spring in New Hampshire. Spring in southern Utah. Had to replace a monitor that was on a wall mount. The top two mounting points needed to have a standoff, but the person who did the initial install didn't have them, so they just stacked like 8 washers to make a connection. Lol. I know the feeling. The federal government, the Washington crowd, and corporate media based in Washington and New York see the country in wholly partisan terms. Republican versus Democrat, red versus blue, old media versus social media, liberal versus conservative, right versus left, straight versus gay, and on and on. Charlie Kirk's assassination in Utah should remind us of the actual diversity of the nation and of the cost of polarization that demonizes the other side. No one in Robinson's group is cheering or justifying the murder in any of the messages I reviewed. They're just struggling to understand what their friend did. But Washington has become obsessed with the Discord chat, convinced it's some kind of headquarters for the murder and cauldron of radicalization and conspiracy. Today, FBI Director Patel vowed to investigate anyone and everyone in that Discord chat. Yeah, this is also another unfortunate byproduct of having like extremely offline boomers or online boomers that are online in the worst ways possible because they like their only understanding is like Facebook posts or whatever. Trying to investigate this and trying to find like why this took place, right? And they obviously are completely unequipped to do so. And therefore, like, it's crazy how mild this dude's Discord profile is. Okay? It is insane. I cannot comprehend it. Like, unless he was living a double life as like some kind of political radical, like the act that he took, the act that he engaged in is so radical that when you look at his fucking Discord profile, it gives me whiplash. Like, this is the most, like, normal fucking guy that did such an abnormal thing. What I see is a bunch of young people shocked, horrified, and searching for answers like the rest of the country. Yeah, remember what I talked about with, like spontaneous murder, the stabbing that took place on the subway against the Ukrainian refugee. Like, that's a really terrifying thing for a lot of people because, like, it's truly, utterly senseless. It doesn't have any sort of, like, logical reasoning behind it. Like, there's no logical through line, right? This is not a justification of that, obviously. But there's no logical through line to the actions of the killer. In that assessment, if you think like Charlie Kirk is a moderate figurehead akin to like an MLK style person, then yeah, you're going to think this guy who tells you like, maybe we shouldn't actually kill trans people and gay people. They are our friends and it's okay. Like, they're going to look at that and be like, this is the wokest person on the planet. This person is basically a fucking communist, socialist, transgender now. Okay. He literally said he can't comment on anything. How are you going to go out there and present what you call evidence and claim as fact, but then pretend you can't comment further and literally say anything? Tyler Robinson was the voter that Kamala Harris targeted with a Liz Cheney endorsement. Yeah, low key, Tyler Robinson, at least like the politics that they have demonstrated, with the exception of like dating a transgender person, because that I feel like is definitely, I wouldn't consider that to be like the normal position, like the normative position. Like, that's not the overwhelming majority of Americans for sure. But beyond that, like, if you just look at his politics, from what we understand, from what we have seen, Hassan, they're all chasers. No, I know. There's a lot of people who like. There's a lot of people who are chasers and whatnot. That's not what I'm talking about, right? Like, but someone, basically my point is his politics are all over the place in the sense that like he's just like apolitical for the most part, but also doesn't think like gay and trans people are evil, which is one of the most like, that's like half the fucking conservatives that are not online and they're not on Twitter. Like half the people that voted for Donald Trump, if you ask them, like, do you think gay people are evil? They'd be like, I don't really care. You know what I mean? The not the 30% base that's like firmly committed to the movement, but like there's a lot of people who feel this way as well. This isn't to say that this guy wasn't fucking, this guy wasn't someone who could be profiled as like lib left kind of, like a lib left kind of person, right? But yeah, Ken Leakenstein, exclusive. Leak message from Charlie Kirk assassin. Accused shooters politics is not what the government and media say. Hey guys, I have bad news for you all. It was me at UVU yesterday. Thus, Tyler Robinson messaged his friends on Discord, seemingly apologizing for murdering Charlie Kirk. I'm sorry for all of this. I obtained this and other Discord chats I've decided to publish. The legacy news media, as usual, refuses, along with new information I've learned about Robinson from the people who knew him best. I just saw the video. Holy shit. RIP, I guess. Bro didn't deserve to go out like that. Sad. Hey guys, I have bad news for you all. It was me at UVU yesterday. I'm sorry for all this. I'm surrendering through a sheriff friend in a... Wait, what the fuck? Oh, usernames are redacted because I know what his username is. This is not what his username is. I have his Discord username. This is not it. Anyway, it's not Zealous Monkey 55095. He changed it. Okay, Ken changed it for this article. Wait, what? He's saying this is the username? Wait, what the fuck? He has multiple. I have 2 Discord usernames. This is not the one I had. Wait, I'm going to text him. Hold on. What the frick? Hold on. That's strange. Server based. I know he had multiple usernames. There's another in the article. You had his username for Hoscord? I don't have. He wasn't in Hoscord, you fucking idiot. I'm texting Ken. Anyway. So Ken has one of the usernames, he says, and it's possible the New York Times is a different one, or all these other outlets have different usernames. Anyway, hey guys, I have bad news for y'all. It was me at UVU yesterday. I'm sorry for all this. I'm surrendering through a sheriff friend in a few moments. Thanks for all the good times and laughs. You've all been so amazing. Thank you all for everything. Trump and company portray the alleged Utah shooter as left-wing and liberals portray him as right-wing. The federal conclusion will inevitably be that he was a so-called nihilist violent extremist, NVE. Meanwhile, the crackdown has already begun. As I reported yesterday, the country's practically ready to go to war. It's been so terrible, and seeing it from an inside perspective is so frustrating. A friend of Robinson since middle school told me, the childhood friend who asked not to be named for fear of threats provided me with the above non-public photo of Robinson on a camping trip, a favorite activity of his, to corroborate their relationship. I think the main thing that's caused so much confusion is that he was always generally apolitical for the most part, the friend told me. That's the big thing. He just never really talked politics, which is why it's so frustrating. The picture that emerges bears little resemblance to the media version. Robinson, I am told, though quiet, was a well-liked person with a supportive family. The friend group who he interacted with on Discord, far from some kind of militia camp or Antifa bunker it's been portrayed as, represented a range of different political views, but mostly talked video games. Yesterday, FBI Director Kash Patel said in an interview that Robinson subscribed to left-wing ideology, citing his family's remarks to the investigators. But those close to Robinson say there was a lot his family didn't know about him. Their ideas are based on someone they didn't fully understand, the childhood friend told me. Though the family was generally supportive of Robinson, a claim corroborated by his mother's Facebook account, brimming with praise for Tyler, they didn't seem to know about his relationship with a transgender person named Lance, the friend said. When I asked if his family would have been accepting, the friend replied, I don't think even Tyler knew the answer to that question, which is why he kept it so low-key between themselves. Tyler's bisexuality, the friend said, was coupled with an openness on LGBT issues. But his wasn't some cookie-cutter lefty position on every other or even most issues, his friends say. Obviously, he's okay with gay and trans people having a right to exist, but also believes in the Second Amendment, the friend said, referring to the right to bear arms. The friend described, which again, that doesn't mean that this person is not like a leftist either, for the record. These kinds of things don't immediately don't immediately reveal your position, okay? Just so you understand. The friend described Robinson as a fairly typical of a young man from his age from Utah, someone who loved the outdoors, was a gamer, and into guns. To all of us, he just seemed like a simple guy who liked playing games like Sea of Thieves, Deep Rock Galactic, and Helldivers 2, loved to fish, and loved to camp, the friend said. It didn't really seem like that's all he was about. Helldivers 2 into the Unjust Deep Dive, one step closer to finding the DRG dwarves. The phrase inscribed on one of the bullet cases from the shooting, "Hey Fascist Catch," though widely reported to mean he was a man of the left, is in fact a reference to the Helldivers 2 game. The three arrows, initially believed by federal agents to be a reference to Antifa, is also a reference to the Helldivers. Private Discord messages shared with me by a friend of Robinson's can confirm Robinson wasn't some political martyr. A search of posts for Robinson's containing keywords like Biden and Trump turned up with just one hit each. The Trump post was a passing reference to the 2019 impeachment inquiry. The Biden one came on a day after the 2020 election, where he provided an update to another friend asking about the status of the vote count. An impeachment inquiry has been placed against Donald Trump. He could get booted out if they find he committed the shit he's accused.
The suspect keeps his head
Why are you live so early today? This is when I'm live.
Raises his head enough to get a clear image of his face. As he proceeds across the campus, he is seen walking with an unusual gait. The suspect walks with very little bending in his right leg, consistent with a rifle being hidden in his pants.
What?
This unusual gait
How is he bending
until
then?
the suspect is
How is he
seen
bending
crossing
here
the
then?
railway off the open walkway and onto the roof.
How is he bending his leg then?
View.
That makes no sense.
A camera later captures the suspect as he runs across the roof to the suspected shooting position. Immediately after the shot was fired, a camera captures the suspect running across the roof carrying an item whose shape is consistent with a rifle. The suspect is then seen climbing down from the roof. He appears to drop the item he was carrying as he hits the ground in a controlled fall. He then picks up the item and runs toward the northeast end of campus. Expanded crime scene investigation. Law enforcement officers followed the suspect's escape path to the northeast end of campus, where they believe the suspect left campus and entered a wooded area. In that wooded area, investigators found a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a towel. The rifle contained one spent round and 3 unspent rounds. This is consistent with the facts officers observed at the time of and immediately after the shootings. No shell casings were found on the roof, suggesting a bolt action rather than an auto-loading weapon, and only a single round was fired. Each round in the rifle contained an etched inscription as follows. The fired cartridge was etched, "No Tyson."
When he was bringing it up secret style, it was wrapped in his pants. After he was running away with it, it was wrapped in a towel. Still doesn't make sense how it was in his pants, though.
That was, again, not spent. The last 3 were not spent, were not fired.
Notices your bulge, ooh,
"Hey Fascist,"
and also
catch with arrow symbols. The third cartridge, "Oh Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Chow Chow." The fourth cartridge, "If you read this, you are gay, LMAO." The rifle, ammunition rounds, and towel.
You could go to jail if you laugh at that.
DNA consistent with defendant was found on the trigger. Other parts of the rifle.
I guess we're all gay now.
The fired
Maybe he was
casing,
woke.
2 of the 3
he made everybody gay.
cartridges
It's like when I trick you into reading the Shahada.
Law enforcement was unable to immediately locate the shooter, so they published photos of the shooter from the UVU surveillance cameras and asked for the public's help to identify him. Meanwhile, law enforcement continued to try to identify the shooter through other means. The Washington County investigation. On the evening of September 11th, 2025, as law enforcement continued their investigation, Tyler James Robinson went to the Washington County Sheriff's Office with his parents and a family friend to turn himself in. Robinson's mother stated that the following to police. On September 11, 2025, the day after the shooting, Robinson's mother saw the photo of the shooter in the news and thought the shooter looked like her son. Robinson's mother called her son and asked him where he was. He said he was at home sick and that he had also been at home homesick on September 10th. Robinson's mother expressed concern to her husband that the suspect shooter looked like Robinson. Robinson's father agreed. Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, Robinson had become more political and had started to lean more to the left, becoming more pro-gay and trans rights oriented. She stated that Robinson began to date his roommate, a biological male who was transitioning genders. This resulted in several discussions with family members, but especially between Robinson and his father, who have very different political views. In one conversation before the shooting, Robinson mentioned that Charlie Kirk would be holding an event at UVU, which Robinson said was a stupid venue for the event. Robinson accused Kirk of spreading hate. Robinson's father reported that when his wife showed him the surveillance image of the suspected shooter in the news, he agreed
Is it really
that it
illegal
looked
to
like
laugh?
their
I don't know
son.
anymore. No, man, I'm
He
joking.
also believed that the rifle that police suspected the shooter used matched a rifle that was given to his son as a gift. As a result, Robinson's father
This guy was a gamer
contacted
from
his
Utah,
son
not
and
left
asked
wing.
him to
I
send
can
a
see him
photo of
being
the
woke,
rifle.
man. I don't know.
Robinson did not respond.
Guys, you have to remember something. Like, yeah, this guy killed somebody, but like for the way that like American politics works nowadays, when you're just like, I don't think we should actually assassinate gay people broadly, or like, I don't think we should kill trans people, that's considered woke. Okay. So that's a pretty wide spectrum of people that you could consider woke. So in that regard, yes, if woke means you demonstrate like basic humanity, right? Even though this person did something that's obviously a severe violation of the social contract, inhumane, right? Ended someone's life. Like when they're talking about woke, they just mean like person who doesn't want to literally fucking lynch random people that don't look like them. That's it. That's what they're talking about. So yes, by that standard, pretty much everybody's kind of fucking woke.
To police and reported telling Robinson that it would be best if he brought all evidence with him to the sheriff's office to avoid police having to search his parents' home. The friend also asked Robinson if he had any clothes that
Talk
were
to an actual
related to
ex-Mormon
what he
leftist who
did.
can explain this to you. None of this is
Robinson
confusing to me.
replied
No,
that he had disposed of the clothes in different areas.
I'm one of the only
roommate.
people on the internet,
Police
on the left, that didn't immediately
interviewed
run to the,
Robinson's
this is
roommate,
definitely a Groyper narrative.
biological male who was involved in a romantic relationship with Robinson. The roommate told police that the roommate received messages from Robinson about the shooting. And
Like, when
and
I
he
say
did
this guy
provide
was
those
woke, by the way, I don't
messages
mean
to
he's like a
police.
fucking card-carrying
On
Antifa
September
DSA
10th,
guy.
2025,
I just mean he doesn't
the
think
roommate
trans people
received
should
a
be
text
killed.
message from
Okay?
Robinson
That's
that
what I
said,
mean. Like,
"Drop
make
what
no
you're
mistake.
doing.
Their
Look
assessment
under
of
the
quote-unquote
keyboard."
woke is
The
so
roommate looked
expansive
under the
that it
keyboard
fits
and
the
found a
narrative
note
for
that
every single
stated,
human being pretty
quote,
much.
"I had the
Okay?
opportunity to take out
I just
Charlie
didn't
Kirk,
run with the
and I'm
he's
going to
definitely a
take it."
Groyper stuff. You know what I
Police found
mean?
a photograph of this
But
note.
we still don't know. I'll
following
make the assessment in a
exchange-
little bit.
Text exchange then took place. After reading the note, the roommate responded, "What? You're joking, right?" Robinson, "I am still okay, my love, but am stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you." Roommate, "You weren't the one who did it, right?" Robinson,
Tyler Robinson was a bit of an L roommate, not gonna lie.
Roommate, "I thought they caught the person." Robinson, No, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle
literally
from my
talking about
drop
the
point
incompetence of
shortly
the
after,
cops.
but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering. Roommate, why? Robinson, why did I do it? Roommate, yeah. Robinson, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence.
Low-key, he's
Going
not
to
wrong.
attempt to
Like, if you
retrieve
grab
it
the
again.
rifle,
Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it. Roommate, how long have you been planning this? Robinson, a bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but there is a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it.
this is giving real Hamas fighters on the radio
Robinson
recordings released by
again.
Israel.
I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. IDEK if it's had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me. I worry about Prince. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Didn't have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find Prince. How the F will I explain losing it to my old man? Only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel. Remember how I was engraving bullets? The F in messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notice bulge UWU on Fox News, I might have a stroke all right. I'm going to have to leave it. That really effing sucks. Judging from today, I'd say Grandpa's gun does just fine, IDK. I think that was a $2K dollar scope. Wink, wink. Robinson again, delete this exchange. Again, Robinson, my dad wants photos of the rifle. He says Grandpa wants to know who has what. The feds released a photo of the rifle, and it is very unique. He's calling me, RN, not answering. Robinson, since Trump got into
we do have a
office,
crisis in violence in this country, but honestly, we have a crisis in literacy too. Like, this is a 4.0 GPA kid. And even then, he was so fried where he was just like consistently communicating in memes, dude. How is that possible? Like, I've seen like white supremacist school shooters who literally write manifestos, and you look at it and you're like, oh my God, this is not the major point, but like, I cannot comprehend how bad you are at fucking writing something legible. But this guy is not like that. He's like a 4.0 guy. What the fuck?
The search for Robinson's residence. Police executed a search warrant on Robinson's residence. During that search, police discovered a shell casing with etchings like the etchings found on the shells in the rifle.
I guess he's
near
just like,
UVU.
this is him just doing
Police
comms
also found
with a
several
friend
target boards
or a
with bullet
possible
holes
lover or
in
something. I don't
Robinson's
know.
home. Now, as I stated in the beginning, when I read those allegations, these are allegations. And like the evidence set forth in this statement, those allegations, what you've heard from the media, even from state and federal officials, has not been tested in the crucible of a jury trial. I understand the public's desire to know the facts. My own family members have pressed me for information. Why are we reluctant to share the details of the investigation itself and comment on the case? Because I want to ensure a fair and impartial trial. I became a prosecutor because of my love for the ideals of this great country and the principles embedded in our Constitution. The free exchange of ideas and opinions is critical to this great American experiment, but so too are the protections afforded to the accused found in the Fifth and Sixth Amendments, the right against self-incrimination, the right to a speedy and public trial, the right to the effective assistance of counsel, the right to confront one's accusers, and the right to compel the attendance of witnesses. And perhaps most importantly, under our Constitution, the accused is presumed innocent until we, the state, prove to an impartial jury of defendant's peers his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. That jury cannot rely on our allegations, on what they hear in the news, or on what they hear from a public official. The jury is the sole trier of fact, and they will ultimately determine those facts based on evidence a trial judge has determined is admissible. Again, as prosecutors, we bear the burden to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. But make no mistake, we welcome this burden. I'd like to now introduce my trial team.
Bro, they flood this investigation big time with Kash Patel too.
This is a veteran and expert team. Of
I
some
do
of the
feel like a
trial
competent defense
attorneys.
attorney will make
Chet
mincemeat
Bruno,
out of a lot of the
who
process
is,
discovery.
one of my
Like,
two chief deputies, Ryan McBride.
if the jury is Boomer,
and
he may
David
walk.
Sturgill, on the far
Well,
right there.
I think they're fearful of
and
having
those
like
two-
this is one of the few instances where you got like a bunch of Mormons in this jury. They're not. I don't know how they're gonna feel about like a young Mormon with an incredible future ahead of him, like cut short by an act of vengeance or something. Like, I don't know. We'll see.
prosecutors.
Because, like, yeah,
Chris
there's a lot of
Ballard,
people on TikTok that
my
are.
second
He's going to
chief
jail
deputy,
regardless,
who
yes.
will be
But there's a lot of
handling
people on
motions.
TikTok that are just like talking about like you've done it. You really pissed us off now, or some shit like that. But
we're not.
but I'm not so certain that like everyone is as hopped up on the Charlie Kirk was our MLK shit that you see online.
Of the criminal information are merely the first steps in the criminal justice process. Today at 3 p.m., the defendant will appear.
Dude,
before
it's
a
the
judge
same
in the
tribalism
Utah
that you
4th
saw from the
District
right
Court
when they
for his
recognized that this
first appearance
wasn't like
to be
the
informed of
normal
these
profile of like a
and to
septum
ensure
ring
that he has an attorney
wearing
to represent him.
you know,
The hearing will be
transgender Antifa guy. When they were like, what the fuck, he's from a good family? Oh no. And then they significantly de-escalated their
not
rhetoric.
unusual.
Like, that's the
the
same
fourth
mentality
district,
you will hear from a
All
local
felony
boomer
first
jury
appearances for
in
defendants who are
Utah.
in custody are held virtually.
Like,
A
if he
link
was
to that
Brown, it's the
hearing is
death penalty
available
for sure,
media
right?
on the
Do you
Utah
understand what I
State
mean?
Court's X account.
If he's
at
brown,
Utah
it's the death
State
penalty for
Courts.
sure. If he's trans,
Now,
it's the death
following
penalty for sure. It's the
defendant's
death penalty
first
for all
appearance,
trans after that.
He will be entitled to a preliminary hearing. At that hearing, the state will be required to show probable
You're
cause.
sleeping on the anti-gay
the
hate in
defendant
Mormon world?
committed
No,
the
for sure.
crimes.
They look at him
The
as like.
purpose of the preliminary hearing
I don't know.
is not
I don't
to
know.
determine
I don't
guilt,
know like the mindset of
simply
like
to
boomer
assure the
Mormons
court
enough, but
that the
I can totally
prosecution
see them
has enough
looking at the
evidence to
situation and being
proceed
like he
to
was led
trial.
astray by evil, you know?
If a judge
But-
finds probable cause,
but, you know, he can
binds the
still be,
case over for trial, and
He can still
arraignment
find
hearing
salvation.
will
I don't
be
know. Do
held.
Mormons do that
At
stuff?
that hearing, a judge will again inform defendant of the charges against him and require him to enter a plea to each charge. The next step following the
I
arraignment
feel
is
like
an
everybody does
opportunity
that stuff.
for
You
the
know what I
parties
mean?
to
Like, that's
file
just like a
any
very
relevant
American
motions,
analysis of
and then
Christianity. No
ultimately
matter
the
what
trial
like
itself.
sect you find yourself
This
in, I feel like a
case
lot
has
of Americans have
generated
that
a
narrative.
tremendous amount of interest across our nation.
The messages
and
just
even the
revealed that the
world.
roommate slash
The
girlfriend had no
public's
idea what was
desire
going
for
on.
Information is understandable, but it bears reiterating that this
And
case
also
will be
cooperating with the
tried in a
authorities
court of law
instantly.
consistent with our Constitution, not the court of public opinion. Thus, we will only discuss the case with the press occasionally. It will not be a day-to-day or even week-to-week occurrence, but we will only do so in a manner as not to jeopardize the fair trial process. Before I conclude, I want to express my appreciation for the tireless work of our local, state, and federal law enforcement officers. They have an extremely difficult, dangerous, and often thankless job. I'm proud to acknowledge the exceptional work they do every day, and particularly their work on this case. It was truly a marvel to witness. Their skilled work and dedication have brought us to this point.
Enough. The dude's dad fucking gave him up. You didn't do anything. Bro, these guys literally make it seem like they did Minority Report every time, bro. Dude, so much of like the FBI's terror apprehension unironically is just like getting some autistic 17-year-old Muslim kid online to be like, hey, want to find some Tannerite at this drop site, and then catching them and being like, we thwarted yet another insane Islamic terrorism incident, right? Like it's just like, and it's the same here. They literally didn't do shit, bro. They didn't do dick. They barely found like 3 photos of the dude, of the potential suspect, walking up the goddamn stairs to be like, we did it. We did it, boys. I don't understand.
Just really fast, if you could identify yourself and what organization.
From CBS.
Thank you.
Okay.
Free Israel, though, for real? Yeah, free Israel from Zionism.
In advance.
They are still looking into it. It's an undergoing investigation.
So is that a possibility?
They haven't ruled that out.
Ed Lavandera with CNN. The text message that you exchanged with the roommate, can you kind of give us a sense of, did that happen over several hours?
They were looking in the bushes. Yes,
I don't
that's
have
true.
that
They did.
information.
They did look in the bushes and they found the fucking weapon. That's true. They did do that.
Did you hear it all from the Trump administration or Governor Cox's administration?
Just realize how fucking scary the repercussions would be if, for example, he was in your Discord server or was a fan of yours. Like, people would just use that to be like, oh, Islam's radicalizing young men into killing people. Yes, 100% they would do that. They're already doing that. They've been saying that regardless of the shooter's profile. It's been interesting because, like, one, I was one of the only fucking left commentary people that just straight up immediately said, I don't think this dude's a groyper. I explained the background of why people think he's a groyper, but I said, I don't think he's a groyper. I think he's just like somewhat of an apolitical guy that is like liberal adjacent because he has like tolerance for like some level of tolerance for like gay and trans people, right? Like, which of course by right-wing standards means you are the wokest trantifa. You're trans antifa. You're basically transgender yourself if you think that like trans people shouldn't be killed, right? So like from their assessment, they just keep trying to angle this as like this is wokeness. This is wokeness unfolding. But in reality, just a political centrist overall conservative family, basically on his journey of I guess radicalizing towards feeling empathetic to other people.
ABC News at times would like to know, how does this possibly interface with any federal charges?
So
that's up to the feds. They have different charges, and they're reviewing the evidence.
Steven Crowder said he was in the ACP Discord.
The evidence and the law, they could file charges, but I'm not
okay,
privy to
dude.
exactly what they're looking at.
I know the ACP boys love LARPing. Okay, they're big LARPs. They love LARPing, but that's such a funny thing to fucking
Again,
like
I'm
ACP.
not
I don't think has
prepared to
motion like
answer
that.
question.
ACP wiped their Discord. Everybody wipes their Discord, dumbass. I wipe my Discord all the time too. They get raided.
It's part of
Everybody
our
gets
culture.
raided, hate raided by fucking
and so
groypers
we
and
charge
neo-Nazis and shit. ACP's 11-person Discord. That'd be crazy.
And is he cooperating since he's been taken into custody?
Ultimately, a judge will determine that at trial.
And cooperation, has he spoken at all? Has he been cooperating? Since he's currently-
Again, I'm not going to comment on that.
I think that any statement
ACP is the American Communist Party. I'm not even
Okay.
going to get into it right now.
About the
Okay, that's
suspect's
just,
time online that some say radicalized him.
I am not aware of that information. That's, again, still under investigation.
And has he expressed any remorse so far about this attack?
I am not going to comment on that.
Is he continuing to not cooperate?
I am not going to comment on that.
Mr. Gray, the FBI director has been way out in front in terms of presenting evidence to the public.
Your team has been very circumspect, very measured in what they've laid out. Does that hamper your investigation and your ability to do this?
Well, as attorneys, we typically like to control that information to preserve an impartial jury and a fair trial.
Also, yeah, ACP is not exactly known for being pro-trans.
Excuse me? I don't have that information.
Which is pretty funny. They're MAGA communists, buddy.
What the family said is what I provided.
Mr. Gregg, do you anticipate that the defense will try to get this trial moved out of Utah County, and how will you respond to that?
I'm gonna do the fucking Ken Klippenstein, Ken Liegenstein post in a second to develop a better psychographic profile of the shooter, the alleged shooter. Right wingers love to have relationships with trans women. What are you talking about? Yo, I never said that they don't.
More than coincidence?
That will be for a jury to decide.
Mr. Gray, are you confident that the roommate had no part of this attack whatsoever?
Again, I'm not going to comment on the evidence.
But the evidence so far, does it show any involvement?
Again, I'm not going to comment on other than the facts that or the evidence that we've gathered so far.
Does the mention of the DNA here in the press conference jeopardize his right to a fair trial?
I don't believe so. This is part of a public document that we have to file as we file a criminal information. We have to file a probable cause statement. That's a public document, and so we're comfortable with that.
Are his parents and the roommate still cooperating?
I'm not going to comment on that either.
The FBI has said that this suspect had a hatred of Kurt. What else can you share about that?
I can't share any more than what I've already said.
This was an incredibly precise shot. Do you have any evidence that he went places to practice or have tracked his movements before the shooting that's given you insight into how he prepared?
The evidence that I'm willing to share is what I just read in our statement, and it's in the
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm
information.
afraid we're going to have to cut it off there.
Okay.
Did you consult Eric Kirk about seeking the death penalty?
I'm not going to comment on that.
Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
There you have it, Jeff Gray, Utah County.
Bro.
Laying out
Did we learn anything new here? Like the preliminary investigation, beyond, like the only thing that we learned is the secret messages between him and the roommate, right? Masapal the mic. Okay, calm down. And it feels like they basically admitted that the roommate had no idea what was going on. This dude just kind of did it on his own, and then basically revealed to the roommate who was cooperating with law enforcement, by the way. And he called the roommate love, as it my love, and that probably implies that they are in a relationship, right? Family says he leans left, but once again, that assessment implies, and I don't have any reason to believe that that's not true. Okay, I'm just simply stating when a MAGA conservative in Utah says you lean left or you're becoming a leftist, you're like radicalizing or whatever, they just mean you don't think gay people should be killed. Okay, remember they were like Charlie Kirk is a wonderful moderate. Charlie Kirk is on the record being like the Bible says gay people should be stoned to death. So like obviously from that